Allie. Join me as I show you how to do these Eva Enlightenment earrings. They're using Eva Beads and DiscDuos and showing you how to use right angle weave to kind of create a filigree style and look that's going to fill in the sides around them. Remember, if you do need any materials, go ahead and look below the video in the description. We always put the links right there as well as a list of everything that you need. So gather up your supplies and let's get started. So to begin, we're going to be using the EVA beads to encapsulate a DiscDuo bead with the holes facing up and down. We are going to be then using some 4mm beads along with 8/0s, 15s, and 11s to make that center look really, really built up. I have a size 11 needle on with about 2.5 feet per earring of the crystal size 8 dragon thread. There's a stop bead at the end, and I'm going to go up through my first EVA bead along with the DiscDuo, along with my second EVA bead. The way I'm positioning them is so that they're capsulating in the bead there in the center. From here, we're going to come up to the top and we're going to add 1, 2, and 3 of our 15/0 seed beads, then 1 of our 11s followed by an 8, and then the same thing in reverse, 11, 3 15s. We're going to go from the top of the EVA on the left to the bottom right, going encapsulating the top there. Pull it down towards the center and you're going to see that gets that piece just right there at the top. From here, we're going to do the same thing at the bottom, 1, 2, and 3 15s, an 11, followed by an 8, followed by an 11, followed by 1, 2, and 3 15s. Going back up through the piece, we are going to go through the EVA bead, through the DiscDuo bead, back through the EVA bead here. Give a nice tight pull. And you'll notice that I'm using a DiscDuo that has 2 sides to it. I'm using the Crystal Magic Blue. So one side is a little bit reflective. That's going to be my front. I'm going back into the top here. And I'm going to come out through my 8/0 seed bead at the top of the piece. When I'm there at the top, we're going to add 1, 2, 3 more 8s and do a little bit of right angle weave, going back through the 8 that your thread was coming out of from the opposite side. You're then going to come down through the opposite side here, through the 11, through the 15s, nice tight pull. And when we're along the side here, we're going to add our first one of our crystals. And these are 4mm crystals. From here, we are going to add 1 of our 15s, 2 11s, and our crystal. So 1 15, 2 11s, 1 crystal, 2 11s, 1 15. And we're going to catch on to the bottom section there, going through the 15s and the 11 that sit at the bottom. That's going to bring that crystal and that seed bead right there to the base side. Going through the 8, we're going to mimic that right angle weave. 3 more 8s go on. Back through the 8 that our thread is currently coming out of. Back through our seed beads here, through the 11 and the 3 15s. Once we're through there, we're going to do 1 15, 2 11s, 1 4mm crystal, 2 11s, 1 15, and through the left side here. Once you're through these beads here on the left, we are going to work our way up into that right angle weave. Working our way up into the right angle weave, you're going to go through the 15s along the side, the 11s along the side, and we're going to go through that starter 8, or that 8 that was part of our original seed beads that capped along the EVA beads. Once you're out through that 8, we are going to add some 15s. The 15s we're going to add are just 1 between each one of our 8/0 seed beads, just to add a little bit of silver, hide a little bit of thread, and kind of fill in that space. Pick up a 15, sew through the next 8. Pick up the 15, sew through the next 8. And that brings us to the bottom, or back to the base. From here, I want to get out through the 8/0 on the left-hand side. We're going to go up through the piece. Here, you can go through the 15s. You don't have to. It's kind of up to you. I'm going to go the whole way down, and we're going to let our thread and needle come out after the 8/0 seed bead. After that 8/0 seed bead here, we're going to use some more seed beads to connect to the 11, or excuse me, to connect to the 4mm bead there. 2 15s, 1 crystal, 1 of our 8, and 2 more 15s. So it's going to be 2 15s followed by 1 crystal, followed by 1 8, followed by 2 15s. And then we're going to sew into the same 4mm crystal there. And that's going to create kind of the second level of crystal sitting along the side there. So same thing here. We're going to go 2 of our 15s, followed by 1 8, followed by 1 crystal, followed by 2 15s, and then we're going into the 8 that sits right above on the right-hand side. When you're here, we need to add our 15s in. So from here, I'm going to make sure to add the little 15s in along the sides here, going in and taking my thread and needle now, adding a 15, sewing through the next 8. 15, next 8, 15, next 8, which is going to be that base one there. We have one more 15 to add. And then just like we did on the opposite side, we're going to take our thread and needle here all the way over till we're coming out through the 8/0 seed bead that's on the left. We're then going to mimic the side that we just finished, the right, and add some seed beads before and after that 4mm bead. So again, 2 15s, crystal 8, 2 15s through that crystal there, and then the opposite through there, coming down to the 8/0 that sits at the base. From here, coming out that right-hand side of that bead, we're going to go up to the top through that 8/0 seed bead, and we're going to add a little crystal in our wire guard. We're going to add one of our 11s, followed by a 15, followed by one more crystal, and then our wire guard. If you've never used a wire guard or you don't have any on hand, I would suggest getting some, but you can also use a soldered or a closed ring, and that will make sure that your thread doesn't go through as you're attaching to your ear wire. Sometimes if I'm going into a single side of a bead here, I like to go in and push my wire guard together so that the edges almost look like they're touching. I'm then going to go back down through that same 4mm bicone, making sure that my thread stays in the little U channel of the wire guard there. Out through that crystal, I'm going to mimic a 15 and 11, come into the opposite side, excuse me, of that 8/0 seed bead and pull that back to center. From here, we're going to go down the outer edge, kind of reinforcing. And what we're going to do is just decorate the outside with some more seed beads and an 8/0 purple to kind of give a little bit of color to the outer edge. Getting my thread untangled there. If you want to, you can also go around the outside of this one here for a different look. You can always change it up and post your pictures in our Facebook group for beading and jewelry making, so everybody else can see kind of how you changed it up, how you made the design your own, and maybe what you use to do so. It always helps that beading community. So if you want to, you can make it even bigger on the outside, going out this 8/0, just like we did along the sides here. I'm going to take, you can see I'm spinning it in my hand just to make it easier. I'm going to take my thread and needle through the 15s, leading up to the 4mm bicone on the side and out. When I'm out on the outer edge here, I'm going to do 1 and 2 of my 15s, followed by 1 8, followed by 2 15s, back into that same 4mm bead. And that'll just poke those out to the side. Going down then, I'm going to go through the 15s, 8, and crystal on the outer edge. And just going the whole way around the outer edge here. That's going to make this a little bit tighter, which is great because then it'll keep its form and won't be floppy. And back in over here. And then when I get to the opposite side here, I'm going to do the same thing. Wrapping around here. Coming through the 15s, through the crystal. When I get through the crystal, I'm going to grab 1 and 2 15s, 1 8, 1 and 2 15s. Go back through that crystal here, putting those seed beads on the outer edge. And then what I'm going to do is work my thread and needle up to the top here, reinforce that wire guard, making a second strand go through it. And then we're simply going to tie off our thread ends, taking off the stop bead at the original area in the back and tying those 2 threads together. So I'm just going to take this up through here, up along the peyote or the right angle weave there, out through the 8, reinforce. When you reinforce, you want to make sure as you're going around that wire guard that your thread and needle does not open up the side of the wire guard, and that your thread, when you're looking at it, stays within the limits of that wire guard. Sometimes what can happen is as you pull your needle through the wire guard, your thread can kind of hop out of that channel there. You want to make sure that you watch it, that it goes into that interior channel. Come down through your beads then on the side. And just simply weave your beads and thread a needle back towards the start here. And you can see I'm just getting ready to burn those off. I have them tied down. So I'm going to turn it over, weave this back down through, take off that stop bead, tie it off. Once that's done, I'm going to take my ear wire, open it up a little bit, slide that on. If it's too tight there at the base, you can always feed it onto the back of the ear wire. Turn it as you're working on it and close it up. And there you go. Nice, simple design using just a couple of exclusive beads to get a nice full look. Again, you can go in then and do so much more, creating and expanding along the sides if you want to of that right angle weave. Thanks so much for joining me in creating these Eva Enlightenment earrings. They're really fun to use as a base that then again you can go in and create a bracelet out of, create more rows based on that right angle weave and really build from the center out. Remember, if you do need any supplies, go ahead and look below the video. In the descriptions there, we have links to everything that you'll need. And remember, as I said earlier, if you make these in different colors, please share it in our Facebook group for Beading and Jewelry Making. We love to see everybody's different designs. Thanks so much for joining and stay tuned for more inspirational designs.